Dad's lawyer read the will, only your sister gets the business. She said, looks like you'll stay a nobody. But she had no idea what I'd built behind her back. My name is Margot Krause. I'm 47, single, and I live in Sandusky, Ohio, the kind of town where people still greet each other at the grocery store and where the wind off Lake Erie carries the scent of cedar if you're anywhere near the old lumber mills. I work with my hands. Always have. My dad, Roland Krause, ran Krause & Sons Furniture for 40 years. Classic, handcrafted wooden pieces, beds, tables, cabinets, the kind of heirlooms people passed down, not tossed out. He inherited it from his father, who got it from his. And even though the name had Sons in it, Dad had no sons. Just me and my sister, Veronica. Veronica was the type who floated into a room. Blonde, charismatic, always dressed like she was on her way to an interview with Vogue. She went to NYU, traveled, networked. The kind of woman who could talk anyone into anything. And she knew it. I, on the other hand, was the one in the back workshop sanding drawer joints and fixing broken routers. I didn't mind. I liked the quiet, the smell of varnish, the satisfaction of a dovetail that slid together perfectly. But as we got older, it became clear that Dad saw Veronica as his successor. Maybe because she talked like him, or maybe because he thought I didn't care about business. Maybe because he thought I didn't need it. He was wrong. For years, I worked under the radar, first helping in the shop, then quietly managing logistics, even redesigning some of our older furniture models when they started losing traction. But the credit always went to Veronica. She was the one doing deals, presenting designs, taking pictures with clients. When Mom passed away from ovarian cancer, things shifted hard. Dad pulled Veronica closer. I think it helped him feel like he still had control. I don't blame him. Losing Mom was like losing the sun. Nothing ever really warmed up again. I stayed. Quietly. Always around, always helping, but never at the table. I remember the day Dad collapsed. He'd been lifting a hickory dresser into the back of a client's pickup. I was at the shop when it happened. Drove him to the hospital myself, white-knuckling the steering wheel the whole way. Veronica? She was sailing with some friends in the Hamptons. I didn't even call her until we had a diagnosis. Mild heart attack. He'd need to slow down. That's when he started talking about the will. He didn't talk to me. But I saw him meet with Lewinsky, the family attorney. Veronica was there. I wasn't. Just like always. I didn't push. I just watched. 6 months later, he died in his sleep. Peacefully, according to the doctor. At home, in the recliner he built himself when I was 12. The funeral was packed. Old customers, church friends, neighbors. Everyone had a story about how Roland Krause fixed their wobbly table, donated lumber for their kids' school project, or refused to raise prices even when costs went up. Afterward, we met at Lewinsky's office. I didn't expect anything. But I was still surprised when the will made it official. To my daughter Veronica, I leave Krause & Sons, including all buildings, assets, branding, and associated property, nothing for me. Not the workshop. Not the tools I helped maintain for 20 years. Not the customer base I personally called after Mom passed. Veronica turned to me with that signature smile. Looks like you'll stay a nobody. She meant it. And she believed it. But here's the thing she didn't know. 3 years earlier, I had started my own business. It was quiet at first. Just me, working nights in a rented garage behind an old auto shop off Campbell Street. I called it Grain Theory. I had ideas, designs that merged classic craftsmanship with modern aesthetics. Pieces that folded, slid, transformed. Solid wood. Zero plastic. Locally sourced. I documented every build, photographed every corner, and started an Instagram. A Shopify store. I knew how to use tools, but now I taught myself how to use SEO, how to pack for shipping, how to brand something without a logo slapped on everything. At first, I sold to a few local boutiques. Then a coffee shop in Ann Arbor wanted a custom bar. Then a design blog reposted one of my modular desks. Orders came in. I hired 2 college kids from the local tech school to help. By the time Dad passed, we had a waiting list. Veronica didn't know because I didn't tell anyone. Not even Dad. Not until the night he showed up unannounced at the garage. He didn't say much. Just looked around. Touched the grain of a half-finished walnut sideboard. "You did this?" I nodded. He looked proud. That quiet, reluctant pride I hadn't seen since I won my 8th grade science fair. Then he left. That was the last time I saw him alive. Veronica took over Krause & Sons with all the confidence in the world. Within the first 6 months, she fired 3 of the shop's senior craftsmen to cut overhead. She replaced our hand-carved models with factory-manufactured alternatives. When longtime clients called about custom orders, they were told to check the online catalog. The website was a mess. No filters, slow load times, broken links. She paid some trendy digital agency in Columbus to build it. They used stock images of furniture we didn't even make. Meanwhile, Grain Theory kept growing. We didn't advertise much. We didn't need to. Word spread. Our waitlist hit 4 months. We moved into a larger space, a converted warehouse with high windows and room for a small showroom. Local papers ran a feature. Then the Cleveland Courier picked it up. People from New York started calling. Then LA. Veronica still didn't know. Then one day, she found out the hard way. I'll never forget that moment, but I'll wait to tell you about it. I started noticing the shift in town before I saw it in her eyes. People, old clients of Krause & Sons, began showing up at our Grain Theory shop. Some were locals who'd known my dad for years. Others drove in from places like Toledo or even as far as Pittsburgh. They came holding old catalogs, or clutching sketches Dad had once scribbled for them on receipt paper. "I went to Krause & Sons," one said, an older gentleman in a windbreaker. Girl behind the counter looked like she was selling phone cases, not furniture. Said I could only order what's on the site. He shook his head. "Your father would have never, they didn't have to say it." I understood. And I never badmouthed Veronica. Not once. I just helped them the way I always had, quietly, respectfully, offering them something real. Veronica, meanwhile, doubled down on what she called brand modernization. She posted sleek photos of her in the shop, even though she hadn't touched a chisel since high school. She talked about legacy reinvention, and making the brand female-led, though she barely knew the difference between maple and mahogany. The irony didn't miss me. She'd inherited a legacy she didn't even understand, let alone respect. And she was running it into the ground. The final blow came from a client neither of us expected. Dad had a long-standing relationship with a boutique hotel in Chicago. He'd built their lobby seating area back in the 90s. Every few years, they ordered refinishing, occasional replacements. It wasn't flashy work, but it was steady. One day, out of nowhere, I got an email. The hotel manager said they were disappointed with the last quote from Krause & Sons. They'd been referred to me by a previous client. I offered to take a look. Long story short, they dropped Veronica. Signed a 3-year exclusive contract with Grain Theory. That contract paid for our second delivery van, a spray booth, and 2 new apprentices. Still, I said nothing to her. I didn't have to. About a month later, I saw her SUV outside my shop. She parked across the street and didn't get out. Just sat there, staring. Maybe she'd heard by then. Maybe someone had told her about Grain Theory, about how we were the new name in old-school furniture, about how her father's clients were now mine. I didn't wave. Just turned back to my workbench. A few days after that, she called. I almost didn't answer. I stared at the screen for a good 10 seconds before I picked up. "You really went behind my back," she said. Her voice was clipped, not angry, offended. "I didn't go behind anyone," I said. I built something. Quietly. You could have told me. And what would you have done? Given me your blessing? She didn't respond. Just exhaled. I could hear the disappointment, the embarrassment. Not in me. In herself. I thought. Dad trusted me. He did, I said. He just didn't understand me. Silence. Then, almost childlike, she whispered, he never said anything about it. Not even a hint. I thought back to that last visit. The way he had looked around the garage. The weight of his hand on my shoulder. He knew, I said. He just let us each build what we were meant to build. Another pause. I thought I'd be better at this, she admitted. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. That was the first honest thing she'd said to me in years. She started calling me more after that. Not often. Maybe once every few weeks. Sometimes under the pretense of asking about an old client, or which supplier I used for a specific hinge or finish. I answered, politely, but always kept it short. She came into the shop once. That was strange. Dressed more simply than usual, wearing jeans and a long coat. She looked smaller somehow, like the confidence had cracked a little. This is nice, she said, walking around the showroom. Very clean. I nodded. We keep it minimal so the work speaks first. She picked up a walnut stool and turned it in her hands. I saw this on Instagram last week. Didn't realize it was yours. It wasn't a compliment. It was a confession. She never asked for help. And I never offered. That part of our relationship was still brittle, too full of pride and history. But there was a moment, just before she left, where she lingered at the door. You think it's too late to fix it? She asked. I didn't know whether she meant the business or us. Maybe both. I didn't answer. Just met her eyes. She left without waiting for a reply. A few months later, I heard Krause and Sons filed for bankruptcy. She didn't call after that. And I didn't expect her to. I found out from a former employee who stopped by my shop looking for work. I hired him. He still used Dad's old sanding blocks. Said they had the best grip. There's something humbling about watching something fall apart while something else quietly thrives. You'd think it would feel like victory. It doesn't. It just feels inevitable. I walk past the old Krause and Sons building sometimes. The windows are dusty. The sign is faded. It's been listed for lease for a while now. No takers. People say it's haunted. I think it's just full of memory. Grain theory keeps growing. We're opening a second location in Columbus next year. A bigger space. More makers. More stories. I don't talk about my family much. New clients don't even know there was ever a Krause and Sons. They just know we make good things with care. And maybe that's enough. I didn't expect the voicemail. After nearly a year of silence, Veronica's voice came through my phone, shaky but composed. Hey, Margot. I don't know if you'll want to talk to me. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. I don't know where else to go. There was a long pause before she added, call me back. Please. I sat with it for a while. Listened to it twice. Then let it sit for 3 days. The truth was, I wasn't angry anymore. I'd watched her entire arc, the entitlement, the collapse, the realization, and I had moved past the bitterness. But the wound was still there, like a scar that only hurt when you pressed too hard. I called her on a Thursday morning. She picked up on the first ring. Thank you for calling, she said. Her voice sounded different. No more affectation. No sharp edges. We met later that afternoon at a diner off Route 250, the kind with laminated menus and chipped ceramic mugs. The kind Dad used to like. Veronica looked older. Not aged, just weathered. She wore no makeup, and her hair was pulled into a simple ponytail. It was the first time in years I'd seen her without effort. We didn't jump into it. We talked about nothing for a while. Coffee. The weather. The fact that the waitress still remembered Dad's usual, turkey club, no mayo. Then finally, she said, I lost everything. I stayed quiet. She stared down at her hands. I was so sure I could handle it. I mean, Dad trusted me, right? That had to mean something. It did, I said. It just didn't mean what you thought. She looked at me. I thought being in charge meant knowing everything. Doing everything. It doesn't, I replied. It means knowing what you don't know. Letting others help. I pushed everyone away, she said, and I saw her eyes start to shine. Still, I waited. I thought I was protecting his legacy, but I didn't even understand it. We were quiet again for a while. You built something incredible, she said finally. I checked your website. Your showroom. The press. I even saw that video you posted about your wood sourcing. It's everything Dad would have been proud of. That one hit me. I hadn't expected that. I just wanted to prove I was more than a shadow, I said, surprising myself with the honesty. She nodded. You weren't. You never were. I was too busy trying to be seen to notice that you were the one actually carrying the weight. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. She asked about work. About the shop. Even about the team. And I told her. Gave her updates like she was a friend instead of a rival. She told me she'd been living in a small apartment near Norwalk. Working part-time at a home goods store. Said it was humbling. Said she liked it. It's not forever, she added. But it's what I need right now. I believed her. She didn't ask for a job. That surprised me. I'd halfway expected her to. But she didn't bring it up, not even once. What she did ask for, eventually, was something much smaller, and more meaningful. Do you think I could come by sometime? Just, see the shop? There was a beat. I won't get in the way. She paused, I miss it. The smell. The noise. The sawdust. It was the first time in my adult life I heard my sister talk about the shop with genuine affection, not as a brand or an asset, but as a place. A memory. Yeah, I said, not hesitating. You can come by. She showed up that Saturday. No fanfare, no one on her arm, no intentions to impress anyone. She brought coffee and donuts for the crew. They didn't recognize her, just saw her as Margot's sister. That seemed to suit her fine. She watched us work. Asked questions. Listened. I caught her running her fingers along the edge of a newly finished headboard, eyes tracing the grain. You guys plane this by hand? Yup. She smiled. Thought so. She didn't stay long. Just a couple of hours. But before she left, she turned to me and said, this place is alive. I nodded. She added, it's what Kraus and Sons used to feel like. Before everything got shiny. We stood there a moment longer, surrounded by soft whirring tools and warm wood tones. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. She left. Over the next few months, she visited more often. Sometimes she'd just drop in with lunch or coffee. Other times she'd help organize supplies or wipe down tools. The crew started calling her V. She didn't correct them. She even joined us once on a delivery to Cleveland. A customer claimed wood dining table for a lake house. She helped carry it in. Smiled when the client gasped. That's gorgeous, the woman said, running her hands along the finish. Veronica smiled. It's got Margot's hands in it. That's why. She meant it. Later, in the van, she turned to me. I didn't realize how much I missed being part of something real. I glanced at her. You always could have been. She didn't answer right away. I wasn't ready to be small, she said eventually. Didn't realize that being small sometimes means being part of something bigger. I let that sit between us for a few minutes. Let the words sink in. Because it was the most honest thing either of us had ever said. Don't worry, I'm not heading toward a neat little bow or magical family reconciliation. That's not how this story ends. Not yet, anyway. There's still space between us. Years of friction don't vanish with a few heartfelt moments and coffee runs. But there's movement. And sometimes, that's enough. She's not asking to rebuild Krause and Sons anymore. She doesn't talk about taking over. She doesn't talk about legacy or being in charge. She talks about craft now. She talks about wood, finishes, tension in the grain. She talks like me. And that's something. A year passed. Grain Theory continued to thrive, slowly evolving from a passion project into a well-respected name in the artisan furniture world. We hired 3 more full-time builders, secured a partnership with a sustainable foresting cooperative out of Vermont, and even started doing occasional workshops for aspiring furniture makers in the area. Veronica? She never asked for a title. She kept coming by, always helping quietly, sweeping, organizing hardware bins, offering feedback when we were stuck on a design. And to everyone else, she was just part of the team. The team accepted her not because of who she had been, but because she finally stopped pretending to be something she wasn't. But behind the scenes, something else had been brewing. It started with an email. Then a few calls. Then a formal offer. One of our biggest competitors, a nationwide home furnishing brand with roots in fast manufacturing and flashy marketing, wanted to acquire Grain Theory. They saw our momentum. Our name popping up in trend reports, in sustainable design circles, even getting nods in architecture blogs. They didn't want our process. They wanted our authenticity. Our story. But I wasn't about to sell my soul for a brand buyout. Still, I entertained the meeting. Not to give them the business, but to get a read on how far the outside world had come in valuing the kind of slow, honest work we'd built. And that's when the idea started taking shape. 2 months later, we had our own offer to make. I'd been quietly acquiring pieces of the old Krause and Sons building. After the bankruptcy, the property had fallen into legal limbo, split between unpaid creditors, contractors, and a regional bank that had little interest in restoring a dusty workshop in downtown Sandusky. But I did. Bit by bit, I bought it back. Through my name. Through LLCs, quietly, without drama. No press releases. No announcement. Just paperwork, handshakes, and wires. I brought in a restoration team. Not a flashy modern renovation. We peeled it back to its bones, exposed beams, original brick, polished concrete. We left some of the wear. The place earned its scars. Then I called Veronica. Come to the shop, I said. Not Grain Theory. The old one. She showed up that afternoon. I handed her a hard hat and walked her through the space. It was nearly finished. Her eyes scanned the walls, wide and cautious. Then the sawdust hit her nose, and her posture softened. This is the shop. I nodded. You bought it? I did. She turned to me, her eyes searching. Why? Because I'm not going to let the name die, I said. But it's going to mean something new. She took a long breath. Is it still Krause and Sons? I shook my head. No. That's done. I pulled the cover off the new sign, still leaned against a work table. Krause and Daughters. Her hand went to her mouth. I could see it. The recognition. The acknowledgement. Not of me alone, but of both of us. Her eyes welled up, but this time she didn't turn away. She let the moment be. We launched Krause and Daughters with a single line, a fusion of classic mid-century lines and modern modularity. We used some of our grandfather's old templates and blended them with Veronica's sleeker instincts. The press ate it up, a reclamation of legacy, one headline said. The redefinition of what family business means. We didn't try to hide what happened. In fact, we told the story about what we lost, how ego broke the business, and how humility brought it back in a new form. People respected the honesty. They respected the work even more. But the sweetest moment came a few weeks after launch. We held a private unveiling in the new Kraus and Daughter space. A small event, just friends, artisans, a few local press members, and our longtime clients. Veronica stood beside me at the front of the room. She wore jeans, a linen shirt, and her hair was pulled back. No designer labels. No forced smiles. Just her. And for the first time, I introduced her. "This is my sister, Veronica," I said to the room. Without her, this story wouldn't have a turning point. And without a turning point, we wouldn't be standing here now. The applause was warm. Real. Afterward, she pulled me aside. "That was generous," she said. I shrugged. "You earned it." Then she smiled. "Looks like I was wrong, huh?" "About what?" "You didn't stay a nobody." I grinned. "No," I said, "I just stayed quiet long enough to become someone." She laughed, the sound a little raspy from emotion. "I deserved that." "Yes," I said. "You did." That was my revenge. No screaming. No burning bridges. No public takedowns or dramatic betrayals. Just growth. Just proof. Just success that couldn't be denied. I didn't destroy her, I let her see, piece by piece, what she tried to bury and dismiss come back stronger, louder, and more respected than anything she'd tried to build on her own. And in doing that, I got my satisfaction. We're not best friends now. We don't braid each other's hair or call every night. But we work together. We respect each other. And most importantly, we both understand what it means to build something that lasts. Revenge didn't come with fire. It came with legacy. One we earned, one plank at a time,